Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of BellyUpSports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
Speaking of people with their money decisions on money, Sandro Tonali, if you guys aren't fully aware, August 28th will be the return of Sandro Tonali. He is finally going to be eligible to be able to play because he was hit with a 10-month ban for betting, which obviously it's not new with the whole betting thing. Obviously, Ivan Toney in the Premier League, he also was partaking in betting. He had a ban as well. But this was all part of a huge, crazy mix-up of a lot of Italian players that were also involved on this one. Now, Sandro Tonali was not the worst of them. There was actually another guy, I believe he plays at Juventus. I can't remember the name off the top of my head now, and there was also another guy that played for West Ham that also was also pretty bad. But yeah, so Sandro Tonali got caught with the betting mainly because the guy from Juventus snitched on everybody, and so now there we are where we are now. But August 28th, he is set to return. I would expect his debut being the Carabao Cup match versus Nottingham Forest. That's just where I'm thinking it's going to probably be. But there is some sort of, I believe that there was another thing that popped up that he got caught again betting, where he is possibly going to face an additional 2-month suspension. But the plan is to have him take that punishment at the end in the summer. So once again, he will not be eligible for any tournaments, which what tournament? The Euro is done. So I mean, where else will Sandro Tonali be playing in the summer? The FIFA Club World Cup? Somehow Newcastle's going to qualify for the FIFA Club World Cup. I don't know. But he's banned from football.
Yeah, no. So they have released his the answer on the extra 2 months. He will not be suspended those extra 2 months for sure. The FA did conclude their investigation on the player. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happened. He was also fined $20,000 and warned, a strong warning from the FA. Like, don't do that again, man. You know what? Look, I have no qualms with players getting banned when they're betting on their own teams. Stop. Like, don't do it. Don't bet in your own league. Just if you're gonna bet, don't bet in your own league. It should be that simple. Like, you should just be smart enough to realize, hey, maybe I don't get myself in trouble by betting on the league I play in, especially not the team I play for, when I know I'm going to be on the pitch, because that's just not smart. Because for Tonali, he bet 4 games for Newcastle. It's like, why would you ever do that? Doesn't make sense. I have the same issues that for the college football players that do it, for the NFL players that have been busted doing it, for NBA players who have been busted doing it. Like, stop it. The difference is, between them and let's say somebody like Pete Rose, who was banned from baseball for betting, is Pete Rose never bet on a Reds game. So 2 wildly different scenarios where Pete Rose never bet on his own team versus these guys are literally betting on their own team and betting on their teams to lose in certain cases. And it's like, why would you do that? That just doesn't make sense. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes back. But yeah, I get it. You can't ban him forever, but like, just be smarter. I do have to laugh though when I look at these like pressers from like Newcastle, and they're like, "Oh, he still continues a therapy program and an educational program. He's been in it for the last 5 months." It's like, what is that going to do? He still has his phone. He still has the apps. He can still do all of this. He can still go down to the local bookie and make bets there at MyPointsBet or whatever EU affiliate they have in Newcastle, and it doesn't change anything. He has to walk by him every day just to get to the stadium. And then, I have a lot of problems with betting for athletes from the standpoint of like, I do believe they should be allowed to bet, but I also think there's common sense rules like you shouldn't bet on your own team and your own league that should be in place. But there's also no way to limit them from doing so because they have so many different people that are part of their groups, if you will. And that's air quotations for anybody who's not watching the video here is, you know, I don't know, man. This is always a tough one for me because I hate when I see it where people are betting on their own teams because that's just dumb. Especially when there are regulations in place that you say you shouldn't do this. But yeah, I mean, also the Juventus player snitches get stitches, bro.
Yeah, it was a crazy series of events, which honestly, I was kind of intrigued. The one thing I was intrigued by was the fact that like obviously this got caught by Sandro Tonali, and I feel like at least like tinfoil hat comes on right now of where AC Milan knew what was to come, and they were just like, let's sell him right now so we don't get hurt from it. Some other team is gonna get shafted by it, and I mean it worked out for them. But I mean, because I honestly I was so shocked that Sandro Tonali was getting transferred out of AC Milan, a club that this was gonna be our at least AC Milan's like next Andrea Pirlo type player with his vision, was the captain, the season prior. And obviously still very young, world class player. I think he's one of those guys.
I believe he's 24.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And it's kind of like one of those like if this guy gets sold to another club, it's because it's for like a ridiculous amount of money. And I'm not gonna lie, even the amount that Newcastle got for him, I felt like he was kind of undersold, and I feel that's why I'm like, tinfoil hat on. AC Milan knew this was gonna happen, so they're like, "Hey, let's just get what we can for him, and let someone else have to deal with the legalities of this." But
yeah, it's probably true. I mean, there's also another part of this, and this is something that for the European game is a little different than it is here in the U.S., where betting really recently became legalized here in the U.S. In England, especially, betting has been literal jersey sponsors for over a decade. And then they've had in-person like bookies essentially legalized for 20 some odd years that I can even know of. If not a lot longer than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot longer than that. But yeah, this is like, you promote these betting activities. And when players do these things, you also kind of like, I feel like it's 80% players here and then 20% like, well, maybe you shouldn't have promoted it to the players to sponsor these things and allow that because, in the U.S., you're not allowed to have active players sponsoring a betting program. But in England, they have literal players on the team wearing the jersey sponsorship all the time and on ads promoting that, whether it's active or inactive thought that's doing it. It doesn't matter. It's represented right there. It's like, 80% of the players got to be smarter. 20%, the league has to be better with the way they promote this as well.
Yeah, and obviously, like the whole gambling site's also a touchy subject. I know that there's a lot of groups that have been pushing for the stopping of promoting these gambling sites. Especially on shirts because I believe, kids when a kid wants to buy a youth jersey, the sponsor is actually removed.
It's supposed to be removed.
Yeah, it's supposed to be removed. So I mean, not great business if you're for your sponsor, at least on that part. But I mean, obviously that's the rules over there. But yeah, no, it's such a weird thing. Obviously, like I think if people were to be able to have self-control, which by the way, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, if you have to look over your shoulder or having to constantly check your bank account because you're not going to be able to bank your bills, like I bet, but I'm not going crazy on these bets that I'm doing. If anything, I lose like 5 or 20 max is what I'm going after because one, I'm I'm not balling like that to be making those. I'm not Mattress Mac being able to bet like $2 million on the Astros. But yeah, like it's just it's just like, unfortunately, like you said, if you have self-control and you're able to maybe not even not only bet in the league, but just don't bet on your sport. But like, I always feel like it's one of those things where you give them an inch and they take a mile kind of thing. There's always that one person that has to ruin it for everybody. And I know that, I'm like I said, I get that people don't necessarily like betting. I am one of those people that does like to bet, but it's unfortunate that some people could just ruin it for everyone else. This whole betting scandal that happened with all these Italian players is kind of that representation of what happens when you're not able to really have a strong program that can enforce this from preventing it to get to this extremity. Because I believe the player, which I think is Fagioli, I think is the player.
That sounds about right.
Fagioli.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That kid is in like massive debt because of all this. And I mean, he's still young. Like, he hasn't even gotten his real contract as a professional player yet. So that kid's looking over his shoulder. So I think that's gonna be the problem. And I think the only thing you can do, which is common in most sports, is they just don't. You're not allowed to bet. Even employees, and I can speak as someone that has worked for professional sports teams, that we actually signed an agreement form that we're not supposed to gamble. We're not supposed to do any sports betting. I did bet on the bet against the Rockets. I was like, this looks too good to be true. It was like, the Rockets were already checked out. They already clinched their playoff spot. They were already going to be the first seed in the Western Conference. I felt good. They're playing against Oklahoma. Oklahoma needed to be in the playoffs. I was like, bet, easy money. I didn't tell anybody. I mean, now I am, because I'm out of there. They don't. What are you gonna
do? Statute of limitations have passed.
What are you gonna do? Fire me?
No, and that's the thing. I was like, that's the thing though. Is look, you got to be smart with this. It doesn't just apply to just players for teams. It applies to colleges. Applies to marketing companies. Certain marketing companies have this regulation because some of their clients are sports affiliates and things like that. Yeah, just like you said it earlier, if you have a problem, call somebody, but also don't bet more than you can afford. Bet smarter, not harder. That's what DJ always says on our show. But yeah, this is something that got put out of place. And it's not the first time the Italian football world has been shocked by a betting scandal. If you guys don't remember why Juventus got sent away from Serie A, it was because of a betting ring. And was it a legal betting ring? No. And neither was Fagioli's. His was betting on illegal sites as well. So there's not the first time this happened in Italy, and probably won't be the last if they don't put in some common sense regulations here from the Italian Federation. And then also you talk about sporting agencies, football, FIFA. They all need to come into play for here, because they all have these booking sites as a sponsor. But the problem is, you don't then like limit the players from doing anything with them because they're on jerseys and because they're on billboards right inside the stadium. Like, be smarter with it, and this probably won't be as big of an issue. You might see one or two players in the smaller divisions having these issues, but you're not going to see 11 young, talented Italian players getting suspended for 18 months or longer. And you're not going to see an entire football franchise that has been great in the world be relegated and docked points and fined millions and millions of euros, because they're going to know well and beforehand that if we even touch it, it's game over. And that's what I said. There's different regulations between countries, different regulations between, that side of the world, this side of the world. But at the end of the day, the rules should always be the same. Be smart. Yeah. Don't be stupid with this. Just be smart.
Yeah. At the end of the day, obviously, make better decisions. Yeah. I get the thrill of gambling, but at the same time, it's not worth risking your career over it.
I bet 10 cents in almost every day. I bet 10 cents because I can afford to lose 10 cents. In a week, I'm losing 50 cents if I lose. Most of the times I'm betting on very safe bets, so I get money back. But like if I'm placing a straight bet, I don't spend much money. There's been a few times I've gone over $5. It's very limited. It's like, just be smart. Don't put anything crazy. Like I get my itch by putting 10 cents in and calling it swell. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. Oh no, I dropped a dime out of my pocket. How sad is that? Like that's just my brain, how that works. But people just need to be smart.
Very, very fair point. So, like I said, August 28th will be the date that Sandro Tonali will be free from his ban from football, and we'll see how Newcastle. I know he's already been training with the squad, so as far as he is getting chemistry wise with the team, he should be good. Obviously, he's a world class 6, so I'm sure he can find his role very, very right away. I'm sure Newcastle is hoping to have him back. I think he was a huge loss for them last year. So we'll see what happens for Newcastle United over there with Sandro Tonali making his return.